The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to Easy Money New England.
Oh, can somebody help us here?
We can, because we are real estate and mortgage professionals.
Where you go?
It's just come in and browse.
That's right. Come on in, listen up and learn.
How long do you intend to browse?
In a short period of time, our panel will teach you some tricks that might make your house buying easier.
You don't ask her how long she intends to browse.
You might not be looking for a mortgage today, but we'll get you ready.
You don't look like browsers.
Are you looking?
No, what do browsers look like?
Yeah, maybe I'm half browse.
On his father's side.
This is Easy Money New England
Let's show the lady we're browse.
with your host, Brian D'Amico.
Hey, look at us, we're browse. One more win out of you and he gets it, all right? Come on.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining our show, Easy Money New England, where every week we bring you money-making opportunities or money-saving ideas, all in the area of real estate, in the real estate industry and finance. And today with us, we have Matt Aitchison, also called Matty A. He's a millennial entrepreneur out of Sacramento, California. He's a seven-figure real estate investor, speaker, avid adventurist. More importantly, a proud husband and father to two beautiful girls, similar to me. I have two girls. Along with his journey, he's learned many things about life and business, and everyone has a different definition of wealth. It's much more to him that it's not about just zeros in your bank account. Through inspiration, action, community, empowerment, and connectivity, he believes he can unlock a rich and fulfilling life if we choose to. He also has a podcast, Millionaire Mindcast, which seems really interesting, and I definitely check it out after the show. So without any further information, Matty A., welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, brother. I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Yeah, no, this is pretty interesting. So I was just reading a little bit about you before the show, and sounds like you flip properties, right? So is that primarily your business, is flipping properties?
I would say it's one of my larger income streams is flipping properties. I own a bunch of rental properties as well. I'm a partner in a construction company. I have a real estate team that I've been a part of for a really long time that I recently became more passive, in that business. So kind of a whole ecosystem inside the real estate space, trying to take a page out of good old Warren Buffett's book. And, once we get people inside the house, what different rooms can we take them into to provide them, obviously, most importantly, with value and a service that, solves a problem for them, but at the same time capturing, some income as they go through those different rooms in the house, and seeing how we can connect all those dots and cross-pollinate between the different companies. So my main head of the snake is definitely the flipping, because that's usually what generates a lot of leads for me, which I can then, figure out where those may be best served when they do decide to do business with us.
So the properties that you buy and then end up, fixing up and then reselling, are they more around a certain area? Is it more around you? Are they over state lines? How do you go by finding flip properties?
Yeah, so for me, it started all in kind of the Tri-County area in Sacramento here, and I'm a hop, skip, and a jump from the Bay Area, and as we all know, San Francisco, Silicon Valley is just one of the most insane markets out in the country right now, and so I started expanding out there a little bit more. It's about an hour and a half, anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hour drive all the way, let's say, to Facebook or Google campus. Where I have some, projects out in that region. And so I'll go pretty much, I would say I'll go wherever the numbers make sense, but usually it's, where I'm willing to drive as well so I can have eyes on the property, and my construction crews will only go so far. So for me, it's my bread and butters are usually in the Sacramento region, but I've been, the last few years playing out in the Bay Area as well, because you're doing the exact same thing, but you're making 3, 4, or 5 times as much money for one project as it would take me to make 6 or 7 out here in Sacramento. So that's kind of the territory that I cover. And, I have what I call my army of kind of bird doggers, or at least in one of my lead generation channels, which is just agents and wholesalers and people who know what I do, who bring me deals. And so depending on where those deals come from, we, analyze, underwrite, and assess them. And depending on if the numbers pencil out and make sense, we'll go as far as we can, tolerate being in the car.
Very interesting. So, if people are listening out there and say you're first starting out and you want to flip some houses, and I know, the market here in Boston, pretty frothy, right? So you got to kind of go out to more of the different areas, probably similar to Sacramento, I would guess, right? You kind of have to find the right areas to be able to, because, it is still a seller's market over here. Is it still a seller's market over there?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely a seller's market. I put a property in San Jose, not far from the Google campus. We put it on the market for 1.4. It ended up selling for 1.65. Wow. So you can 250K over. And so that's just and that's a somewhat of an outlier, right? Those are somewhat anomaly type properties, but very low supply, still, a heavy demand out here. So heavy seller's market. But if you can find those, flip opportunities in the competitive markets like this, then you are primed to do very well. So oftentimes, you hear pretty much everybody saying, well, there's no deals out there, there's no opportunity. And I would say, that's not the case. So, it's a lot more challenging, right? I look at it almost like a fishing pond, and everybody is, the banks are crowded. Fishermen are using the same bait. Everybody's going after the same fish now. So you just got to get a whole lot more creative of what ponds you're fishing in, i.e. your lead generation channels and how you generate these opportunities, and also what bait you're using. Because even though you find a new fishing pond that's not as crowded, there's still people sitting on the banks going after those same leads, right? So you got to figure out a way through your unique value proposition, through your service, through your brand to really separate yourself from the competition to get these opportunities. And it could be something very, very small, but that one small thing might be the thing that, makes a difference for that seller who decides to end up doing business with, my company. And so I found that it is, yes, a lot more crowded. The needles in the haystack are a little harder to find. There's not that low-hanging fruit like there once was, back in the day when everybody was, finding foreclosures and short sales and really not having to try a whole lot. Now you got to be good at what you do. And, and that's really critical. And, in competitive markets like this, like you're saying.
So how did you create people, realtors, and saying, hey, this seems like a good deal for Matty A? How did you get to that point? How did you build your team to get to now be where you are? If someone's just starting out, they want to flip homes, or they've done a few, but they're having problems finding more. How did you become that person that they go to? Yeah,
so there's, it's been a process of accumulation over the years. I started off as a realtor right out of college. I was 22 and found my first flip. That year, I ended up making 6 figures on that flip. Was broke, had no credit, had actually a bunch of debt, credit card debt, and all kinds of other debt racked up. Had a couple $100 in my savings account. And that first deal I made over $100,000 on, and I was going, man, this seems like a pretty great space. I think this is a new career path I'm gonna pursue. And then I realized that if this was something that was going to be repeatable and scalable, I was really going to have to treat and run this like a business. So while I was building up my real estate team over the last 5 or so years, we were ranked 2 years Wall Street Journal top 1,000 real estate teams, doing a couple hundred transactions, about 40 plus million in volume.
Great.
And I started seeing that I was, able to use the relationships that I was building up in the retail space of my business to almost create this army. I call them the army of bird doggers, the people that I could go out there and train and turn on their vision, their reticular activating system, to finding these opportunities, because these are the people that are out in front of sellers all the time, right? And so, of course, there's the pay-to-play strategies of direct mail and bandit signs and pay-per-click and all the different lead generation companies that are out there nowadays, and radio, billboard, right? But then there's also, for me, a broke college student still living at home when I was 22, going, well, how do I leverage some of the free resources and channels out there, and how can I double down on those? And looking back, they're more of long-term strategies, right? You don't just become best friends with somebody overnight. It takes a process of accumulation to build the trust and have experiences together and all those kind of things where that bond was strengthened for people to want to bring me opportunities. So over time, I would say I've built up a very strong network of agents who are sitting in front of sellers, and I've trained them when they, sit down in front of a seller, and that seller's, got a house that maybe isn't going to meet an FHA or a VA or a conventional style loan, that I want to be their go-to person that can get them a cash offer. I'll pay all the closing costs. I'll pay their commission, so the seller doesn't have to pay any commissions. We close on their time frame, no, repairs or costs out of pocket for the seller, and we get it done in 7 days. And then that realtor gets to not only represent me on the buy side and get the commission, but they're also going to get a full listing commission on the retail side and have a beautiful house instead of a, one that is going to be probably a challenge for them to list and sell. They're going to have one that's going to be able to be fixed up, retail, and hopefully double on that one. So that was kind of the thing that allowed me to start getting more people just bringing me deals, right? And obviously painting that picture for them of, one, what is an opportunity look like and when should you bring it to me? And two, why should you bring it to me? What is the value for them, right? So not only getting to represent on the buy side and get the sales volume and the commission there, but also a nice fixed up product on the back end that they can get a listing commission on, hopefully generate more buyers, put their sign in the yard. And so that was a value to them. And oftentimes I try and pay bonuses on top of that. I did an interview with Robert Kiyosaki a few years ago, and was more of an intimate, close setting. I said, Robert, man, I mean, you've gotten so many great deals and opportunities that have come across your plate over the last, X amount of years in your career. What was it that allowed you to get those opportunities over your competition? Why did you think people brought you the deals? And he goes, it was very simple, Matt. I overpaid everybody. He goes, most people just want to nickel and dime you and go, I want you to reduce your commission, and, this is going to be an easy sale for you, and they justify why you should take less and put more in your pocket. And he goes, I overpaid them, so anytime they ever came across an opportunity, there was no doubt in their mind who they were taking it to. It wasn't even a thought. And from there, he said, that simple strategy of overpaying and over delivering and over appreciating the people who bring me opportunity and make me a lot of money, that was the game changer and what allowed him to consistently build that rapport and that army of people. And so that's what I do. I overpay the people who bring me opportunities. I try and take care of them. We obviously have a great system that makes it easy for them to do what they do. We're not putting lipstick on a pig. So when they go and put something on the market, they feel proud about having their sign in the yard. They feel good about not having all these crazy things come up in home inspections and, curveballs out of left field. So we try and make it as turnkey and simple for these individuals that are bringing us deals. That's just one of the lead generation channels that I leverage to go out and find opportunities.
That's a golden nugget of information right there. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? I mean, it's, you're going to get, people are going to come to you because you treat them well, and you're going to, you're going to turn them around, and everyone wins, right? So that's some good information. The other thing I wanted to talk about, so when you first started out, were you doing cash offers, or did you have to get to that point where now you can do cash, or is it a deal with the bank? A lot of people, if you're flipping houses around here, it's very difficult to try to go in there and say, oh, well, I can get the money, but I have to go to a bank, because a lot of banks won't, give you the money after they do the inspection and all that kind of stuff, the appraisal. So how did you start off? Were you always doing cash deals?
Yeah, you could say it was, in quotes, cash, right? I mean, I think that's the thing that you always try and market yourself as, a cash buyer. And yet my very first deal, I used a hard money lender for the first position. I used private money, a family member for the second position. I mean, I couldn't qualify for, squat. So when that opportunity, I remember signing that contract, and I walked out of that, that seller's kitchen, and I got in my car and I'm fist pumping and I was fired up, man. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh crap, how am I going to fund this deal? I have no money and I'm still living at home. I got, credit card debt. And so the limiting belief for most people, which usually I have found prevents them from getting started, is one of the top three is, I don't have the money, therefore I can't get started. And that is probably the one thing that I see keep most people sidelined forever. Well, when are you ever going to have enough money to go out and start buying houses for cash, right? Every big investor that has mentored me or that I have interviewed, they all started with no money. They all found some creative way to make the deal happen. So I found a hard money lender that funded majority of the first plus the construction costs. I found a private money lender to give me the down payment money. I paid him an interest and some points on his. I didn't cut him into the profit sharing. And on that first deal, like I said, I netted over 6 figures on that first deal, a college student broke in debt living at home. So, with that being said, there's a lot of different ways that you can fund deals. You can go to hard money lenders and get pre-approval letters pretty darn easy, which makes you feel and seem and look more like a cash buyer. There are different, companies out there like getpof.com that actually share their proof of funds with you. So you can use those proof of funds and go out and make offers and seem like a legitimate buyer and, utilize their leverage to, get yourself into some hopefully good opportunities with their desire, obviously being that, when you lock it up with their proof of funds, they get to fund it for you, right? So there's so many different ways, but I remember my first mentor said, if this is really a deal, you're not going to have any issue finding the money, right? If it's an opportunity, the money will follow. And I just remember like, that's so cliche. And, I remember going to the hard money lender and they're pretty tight with what they decide to fund and what regulation or what their, terms they're going to offer you. And I remember them going, man, you got a smoking deal here. You got a smoking deal here. And we want to get as much money as we can into this deal, because we feel like it's an extremely safe lending opportunity. So we're going to fund 90% of the purchase price, 100% of the construction. You got to come up with, 10% down. And that's what I did. I remember walking out of there, signing the closing docs, and I was just kind of dumbfounded going, a 22-year-old who's broke in debt, poor credit, living at home, never bought a house in his life, just got 100% of this deal financed with none of my own money, and I'm going to make $100,000. And so that was kind of my big aha moment of going, you don't need to have every duck lined up. You don't need to have all these dominoes perfectly in a row for you to go out there and find the investing opportunities. You just got to go find the opportunity, and then the money and all of the other things will kind of work themselves out. But the number one challenge, like we talked about right now in today's current market, and really for anybody in any market, is where do you find these great opportunities, right? If they were just hanging around everywhere, everybody would be walking around a real estate millionaire and crushing it and driving their Lambos and talking about their multi-million-dollar, portfolios. And that's just not the case. So you got to get good at what I believe to be the most important pillar, the head of the snake of any real estate business, which is generating leads, right? Whether you're a mortgage professional, whether you're a realtor, whether you're a real estate investor, you got to learn how to figure out how to generate leads.
So that particular deal, your first deal, how did you find that deal? Because that sounds like it really gets you going. You were on it, fist pumping in the car. How did you find that one?
Yeah, I would say, it was definitely a lot of hard work that put me in a position to become lucky. And it was about 8 months of grinding. I was wasting money on marketing dollars, sending out direct mail pieces, but I wasn't doing it right. I was, door knocking certain neighborhoods. I was cold calling. I was doing bandit signs. I was pretty much trying everything, but I was trying everything half-assed.
Yeah.
I was going a mile wide and an inch deep, whereas I should have been going an inch deep, a mile deep and an inch wide. And so what I ended up deciding to go a mile deep in was my bandit sign kind of system. And so for about a month straight, I was putting out bandit signs, waking up 3-4 in the morning. So, the sign ordinance police wouldn't find me and catch me. And I was going around to different neighborhoods that I had identified as being what I thought good areas to flip houses in. There was a high absorption rate. The turnover was there. Prices were appreciating. They were houses built between 70s and kind of the 90s. So they were due for some updating. And after about hundreds of calls of angry sellers, get your ugly ass bandit sign out of my yard and out of my neighborhood. And I finally got that one call that I was waiting for. And it was a gentleman who was in town. His mother was quote unquote what I came to find out, the cat lady house. She had hundreds of stray cats coming in and out of her house at all times. And she was a hoarder. Yep. And she was getting elderly. He lived in Seattle. She was in Sacramento. He wanted to downsize her, get her closer to the family because she did need a caretaker. Her health was kind of going downhill, and the house was just getting away from her. And so I ended up, going, this is my opportunity. So I got the call. I rushed over there. Through a sequence of, good question asking, was really able to uncover what their motivation was, what their pain point was, and to really kind of craft an offer that would alleviate that pain. And so I ended up locking up the deal for $75,000. I put about $30,000 into the rehab, and I sold it for $224,500. And we did all of that with about, I would say from start to finish, I probably had about 30 hours maybe. And that was my first deal. So I was really trying to be more involved and learn. But that was about 30 hours worth of work for a $106,000 payday. So doing the math there, that was about about $3,500 an hour. And when I kind of saw that come to fruition, I went, this is a path I need to pay more attention to, and I just got to get really good of how do I find more deals like this. And so that's what I've been focusing on the last 6 or so years of flipping houses, 150 plus houses flipped, is how do I find more opportunities like that where I can, one, most importantly, solve a problem for a seller, create a win-win, right? I'm not here to make money on someone else's hardships, but I am here to solve a problem and see if their motivation meets my price. And if there's that win-win in there and we can all make some money and get what we want out of it, those are the integrity-based investing approach that I like to take and continue to find more deals like that. So creating different lead generation channels and strategies and trying to find a way to capture as many of those leads in the different buckets that I had out there has been, an ebb and flow process, right? It's not, hasn't been the vertical line to the top. It's been a crazy journey over the last, 6 years of learning and winning and losing and doing all kinds of fun stuff.
It's a great story. So that banded sign, I have to ask, what did it say? We buy, bad homes?
Yeah, it said, I buy houses cash, get an offer in 24 hours or less. Nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy. Interesting.
Nothing crazy.
Yeah, no, very good information. And I have to give you a lot of credit. I mean, I'm a mortgage guy, and I tried to jump in on this craze a couple of years ago. I'm like, I could do a couple flips, thought I had time for it, and they were actually major flops. Because, when you don't have time, you're buying, I was buying things off auction sites, not really doing the homework I needed to do. And I got stuck. I mean, but it was, so I give you a lot of credit because, it truly is a all-contact sport. You can't just dabble in it. Would you agree with that?
Dabblers get dabblers income. Yeah. Dabblers get dabbler results, and so whether it's you're dabbling in your health and fitness, whether you're dabbling in your relationship, whether you're dabbling in your business, you're going to get dabbler results. So
dabblers get crushed is the way I looked at it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you might have a different take on it, right? But it's one of those things where I think you gotta commit to being, like, I consider it, you gotta commit to being a black belt. Like if you're gonna go into something and you want to be the best at it, because for me, I've always been a competitive guy. I've been in sports my whole life, so when I do something, I'm not doing it to just half-ass it. I'm doing it to be the best that I know I can be. Whether that makes me the best or not, I'm just doing it to be the best that I know I can be. And so when I got into the flipping space, I said, hey, this is something I'm going to do. I'm going to build systems. I'm going to build infrastructure. I'm going to surround myself with the right people. I'm going to humble myself and check my ego at the door and say I don't know it all, and continue to expose myself and be a student of the game and learn. And most importantly, just go out there and execute on a daily basis. Do it consistently over and over. And I think that's, an analogy or an equation that I apply in all areas of my life is to, if you want to be successful in anything, you got to show up on a daily basis, make small, and it doesn't have to be big, small, smart, consistent choices over an extended period of time, and you're going to get great compounding results that ultimately lead you to unlocking new levels of life, wealth, health that you've probably never lived and experienced before. And so the trusting in that process, the commitment to that process, the discipline required in that process has probably been the toughest thing mentally as a human being to work through. And of course I have my ups and my downs, but that's all part of the growing process too, is, at the end of the day, if life was just some, consistent line moving forward, it'd be pretty damn boring, And so sure. I would say the successes, that 6-figure win has been, great stories to tell and amazing, but my biggest learning lessons have come from all the challenges and the failures and the dark times, as an entrepreneur on this journey as well. I think entrepreneurship at the end of the day, as a real estate professional, mortgage professional, what you name it, any professional, anybody that decides to throw, their future, their income, their freedom on their back to bet on themselves, it's the greatest self-discovery process that you can ever go on.
Agreed.
Because being an entrepreneur it ain't easy. It's not easy. And if it was, everybody would be an entrepreneur, right? They would not be working for somebody else and punching the clock. And so for me, in this journey, real estate has just been one of those vehicles that has taught me more about myself as a human being, as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a community member, as a leader for the people that I work with and that work with me. And so, I'm grateful for real estate because it's not only allowed me to learn about myself, but in the process, it's allowed me to create wealth, which ultimately was why I got into it in the first place, was to create more freedom, to have more time, to have the flexibility to choose what I do, when I do it, with who I do it with, right? And to create those memories and experiences that, most people believe real estate can create for them. And oftentimes it's unfortunate because people get sucked into the trap of owning a job for the rest of their life, thinking that real estate is going to be that freedom for them, and ultimately they're chasing commissions forever, where real estate investing allowed me to start alleviating some of that commission pressure, and then over time unlocking financial freedom, and then over time creating actual wealth that was transferable not only to my family, but also allowed us to live the life that we wanted to live. So is it all rainbows and puppy dogs? Heck no. We still go through the same turbulence. It's just different kind of turbulence.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it allows me so much freedom and flexibility and fun, which is ultimately why I wanted to be in real estate.
How old are your girls?
My girls are 3.5 and going to be 8 months here. So wow. I got my hands full. We got a crazy household keeping me on my toes mentally and physically, and wouldn't have it any other way right now.
So I have a 3.5-year-old and a 3-month-old.
Oh man, so we're in similar boats here. So
two
what's
girls.
up.
Oh yeah. They keep you keep you motivated for sure, right?
Absolutely.
So what would be? I mean, I'm thinking now. I'm saying to myself, well, if I was to get started in something like this, what are the best you think right now? The best strategies to try to uncover some of these deals? Is it door knocking? Is it calling people up out of the blue? I mean, what seems to be the best type? Is it auctions? What seems to be the best strategy today?
So I have students all around the country in my 6-figure flipper course and community, and it's cool because we get more of a wide variety of a data set to get an idea of what's working right now for people. And I would say it varies in every market. So I got some people in our community that are crushing it with direct mail right now, and other people that are sending out 16,000 pieces of mail and getting nothing. So it really depends. I would say there's a few tried and true strategies, which will be direct mail and pay-per-click. They're pay to play. If you do them the right way, then you're going to generate some kind of leads, right? We just want the phone to call, and then from there, it's your job as the professional to uncover what it is that this person's trying to accomplish, what challenge they're working with right now, and how you can potentially solve it. So the ones that get the phone ringing are going to be bandit signs. They're going to be direct mail. They're going to be pay-per-click, Google ads, Facebook ads, things like that. Now, in my opinion, some of the best ways and the cheapest ways are going to come through your relationships. Yeah. And now, like I said, this is kind of like thinking of just a blank piece of land. And over time, you're going to have to plant some seeds on that land and nurture that land and water that land. And eventually there's going to bear some fruits through those relationships. So if you have the ability to, in your network, leverage some of the people, because you want to be connecting to the people who are connected with the people that you want to serve, right? So probate attorneys, divorce attorneys, estate planning attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys, those people are connected with individuals who may have a very significant challenge, one dealing with their home, that you might be able to help them solve. So that's one. Agent relationships, hands down. I mean, they're the people who sit down in front of the people who say, I'm raising my hand, I want to sell my house, bring me a buyer. And so if you can train those individuals and equip those individuals with the right knowledge, right tools, and right resources to pinpoint, hey, you know what? This opportunity looks like it's a fixer, and I should run it over to Matt and see what he thinks, see what he can offer, right? Then those are the easier, more leveraged ways, right? I don't have to go out and do anything. I just got to train these people, which is very simple, and build relationships with them, add value to them in their business, and over time, they're just going to start bringing in deals for me, like a residual type opportunity. So the wholesalers are another one where they're out busting their butts through direct mail, through pay-per-click, through some of these other channels, right? Spending their own marketing dollars, time, and energies to generate these leads. They lock them up for a price, and then they try and sell it for, some kind of fee to you. And those are good ways. So you got the MLS, you got, which is very picked over.
Right.
You have the agent relationships, getting in front of these, sellers before they put them on the market through those agents. And then you got your wholesalers, you got some of the other business-to-business type relationships. So those are some of the quick, high-level type, strategies of what you can do. And then obviously getting into the trenches, there's real strategy behind how you would generate leads through these different people or through these different channels. But those are some of the different ones. There's hundreds of ways that you can go out and generate deals, to be honest.
So, you've been featured on the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Huffington Post. If someone's listening right now, they want to get more information and kind of tap into what you're sharing a lot of, value add to a lot of people. How can they find you, and what can you help them to help with their business plan?
Yeah. So we have, I got a ton of tools and resources, free stuff on my website as well as paid stuff, mattaitchison.com. So they can always reach me that way, or there's the ability to I do all kinds of webinars and trainings for free to add value in particular areas of the real estate investing space. So they can always check out 6figureflipper.com, and that's a great way to get more information in particular on the real estate investing side, or just follow me on Instagram, Facebook, message me. I'm very easily accessible. I love connecting with people that are really out there trying to create wealth, trying to educate themselves in the real estate investing space. And most importantly, I just want to add value and see how I can help.
That's great. It's great information. And I think that if anyone's listening right now, I'm going to be signing up for your 6-figure flipper right now. I see it on your website. Again, I think it was great information. And if anybody needs more information on this, definitely, take Matt up on reaching out to him. I think we covered really everything that we want to cover. I know it was a short podcast this week, but I got to tell you, I'm excited. I'm happy that we did this show. And Matty, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Brother, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you very much. And next week, we'll see you again here on Easy Money New England, where we like to say there's no such thing as easy money.
Hi folks, it's Brian D'Amico, owner of New Fed Mortgage, and I'm really excited to introduce Fast Track Mortgage, our new online system that gets you approved in less than 15 minutes. Whether it's a refinance or a new purchase, just go to newfed.com anytime, day or night, and click on the Fast Track Mortgage button. Fill out the form, and within 15 minutes, we'll approve your loan at the lowest rate possible. Don't waste time dealing with big banks. We're local and here to help you close your loan fast. Just go to newfed.com 24/7 and get approved in less than 15 minutes. Fast Track from New Fed Mortgage. Now that's a new way to get the loan you need fast.
877-NEW-FED.
Subject to credit approval, equal housing lender, NMLS number 1881. Call us to the website for details.
877-NEW-FED.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.